What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 10K on the Bay, my journey to 10,000 live listings on eBay. Today I'm going to be doing a review of the rental car company Turo. Now I have 4 vehicles on the system. I'm by no means an expert, but I can give you an idea of how I'm using reseller profits to put into more passive things like rental cars. So I am on the Getaround website right now on the How It Works section, and I'm just going to go over a brief overview of how it works. So let's say, for example, you are a renter like my girlfriend who does not own a car, and she wants to rent a car for a day. She's going to go into the search button, which is the second tab, and look at what's available in the area. Let's say you're in the city and you're looking at vehicles in like Civic Center. Now there's going to be Porsches available, there's Corollas, there's different kind of cars. You can decide on your price range if you want automatic and manual, what type of brand you like. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of cars available in the Bay Area for people to rent. And depending on where you live, ideally you could just offset the cost of ownership by just putting your car on the system, and people rent it when you're not using it. As a basic rule, you only drive a car 1 to 2 hours a day for the most part. You could be renting it the other 22 to offset the cost of ownership, which is great. A lot of people who have these fancy, expensive cars, it costs a lot of money to own a Porsche Macan here that's showing here at $238 a day to rent. Now imagine he rents it 10 days a month, and it's $2,380 worth of revenue coming in, which more than covers the cost of owning a car like that. That would be a great way for him to do it. He could still drive it 20 days. Now, I don't know how often a Porsche Macan rents. I would say way less than my Corolla or Prius, but I'll go over the exact number on that in just a second. Let's actually get into that right now to give you guys a quick overview. I think this is a better explanation than the Getaround website, because I'm actually doing it so I can show you guys how it works. So I'm going to change this to 4 because that's where I'm actually at. Okay. The vehicle investment, let's say it's a $7,000 investment. That's what I recommend if you're going to do this. Don't get too cheap of a car that's a piece of crap. Just get something that's under 125,000 miles, ideally under 75,000 miles. Is Japanese, because Japanese cars that are of age usually last longer. Not saying that American cars aren't good. I myself love American cars, just as long as they're not old, because older ones are more challenging than Japanese cars, in my opinion, from selling cars for 4 years. Japanese cars hold their value a lot better. So pick one that's older and depreciates a lot less. I'm going to go over the cost of ownership just in a second, but I'll start with this. This is from Consumer Reports. I'll put this link in the description. Total cost of ownership over time. So if you look at the most expensive cars to own are BMW, Mercedes, Audi, the luxury vehicles you can see here, versus the Toyotas that I have on the system. It's $1,100 versus $400 a year to take care of your vehicle. $420 versus $1,125. So you're talking about a car that costs 2 to 3 times more to begin with, that also costs 2 to 3 times more to take care of, which definitely makes sense. So if you're going to get a luxury vehicle, you're going to have to charge a lot more because everything costs more. Gas, maintenance, insurance, depreciation, interest on your loan, all that adds up to a much larger footprint when you're trying to get this going. I would say limit your overhead as much as possible. I say the same thing with eBay. Start in your house. Don't go rent a warehouse when you just start. Don't buy millions of dollars worth of inventory. Just start small. Learn the system. There's a lot less risk when buying a $7,000 Japanese car, because worst case scenario, you could sell it for, let's say, $5,000 within a week on Craigslist, because they hold their value really, really well. So if you are in a fire emergency and need to get rid of your car right away and get that liquid cash, wouldn't take you too long. You are going to lose the tax and license fee, because if I'm buying cars for $7,000, but I can add another $700 in sales tax and other things here in California, depending on where you live, it's going to be a little bit different. But factor that in, or you could even say your budget's $6,000 for a car, so that you stay under the $7,000 for this model that I have in here. Okay, so how does it work with rental? You can charge whatever you want per hour. I charge around $6.50 an hour. The lowest you can charge is $5, and there is no high end. You can see that Porsche Macan is in the $40, $50 an hour range. So it's like 10 times more than what I'm charging for one of these commuter vehicles, which you'll see I get about 22 to 25 days on average each month rental. But for this exercise, I'm going to do 20 days. So $50 a day is what I'm factoring for this exercise, because at 8 hours, it factors the same as a whole day. So they're trying to encourage people to do a daily rental. So in this case, it would be $50 a day to rent one of my vehicles. Getaround is going to take a commission of $20, which in my opinion is super fair because they're doing all the work. They find the person, it's their insurance, they insure against all the other problems, they communicate with the person. All I'm doing is providing the vehicle for them to do it. So they take 40% of the money, and they just got another round of financing. So I think that company is going to be around for a long time, at least for the short interim, for me to get my money back. If something happens to them, I've already factored that in, and I'm still going to be okay. So I'm going to get 60% of $50, which is 30. Assuming 20 days of rental, you're looking at a $600 monthly income on an investment of $7K. So you're going to get back $7,200 in revenue, which is more than you paid for the car after the course of a year. Now there's other expenses, and I want to throw in here the number one expense of Getaround, which is depreciation. I'm factoring in here a 10 cent per mile depreciation. Now that's actually very much higher than it costs for one of these Japanese cars that are older. But if you guys know, for the IRS, sometimes they give up to 50-cent deduction for every mile driven for depreciation. That factors in mostly a lot of new cars and more expensive cars. That's why the average is so high. On these Japanese cars, sometimes they don't depreciate. They depreciate only a couple cents depending on the age and vehicle, because any car that works and can get somebody to work is worth $3 to $5 grand, depending on the model and the condition. So you're thinking, you buy a car for 75,000 miles, you drive it to 175,000 miles, it's 100,000 miles. It might only depreciate 2 or 3,000 depending on what kind of car it is, which you're talking about 5 cents depreciation. But anyway, assuming a worst case scenario here of 10 cents on one of these cars, that's $400 a month of depreciation on that 600. $50 for the max insurance, which is not necessary. You do not need to get that big of an insurance policy because you're not driving it at all. If you're using it 100% for rental car and you're doing like me, you're using yourmechanic.com, that means someone's going to the car to service it there. When they get there, I unlock the car, they work on it, and then when they're done, I lock the car. I don't even have to go there for them for them to fix my car. I can pay for it online, which is like the best thing ever. So I can maintain my car without even going there, which is cool. But then I can say to the insurance company, legit, I don't drive this car at all. I want the cheapest possible insurance that covers me and is legal. So you do that, you leave it on Getaround system. $50 is way more than I pay, just being conservative. Now we have the maintenance costs of $40 per month, which is $100 per 10,000 miles. Now in here, in the cost of ownership, just so you can see I'm not making this up, it says $420 to maintain a Toyota. I don't think it costs that much. This is, again, a little bit aggressive at $480 maintenance on this Toyota. I don't think it's that high, but that's okay. Let's just be conservative. DMV registration of $150 a year. Again, it's probably lower. That's $1,250 a month. You're looking at a revenue of $100 on this $600 of revenue. Now here's the thing with the depreciation. You don't actually pay for depreciation. You make up that cost when you actually sell the vehicle. So if you keep the car on the system for 2, 3, 4 years, however long your car lasts on the rental car system, you get the depreciation hit when you finally sell the car. And that's where it factors in. Now, if you're really creative, like Enterprise or these gigantic companies, they're getting the cars for so cheap because they're getting a deal when they buy the car, that sometimes when they sell the car at the end of the rental car cycle, they don't even lose money. So imagine this $400 over the course of 12 months is $4,800. Imagine that $4,800 being added to this income. So you're looking at a $6,000 profit on a $7,000 investment in 1 year, which is insane. Now, not realistic, but possible if you're on a scale of enterprise and you're buying cars for cheap when you first purchase them. And that goes to say too, on this $7,000 investment, what if I'm buying a car worth 10, 12, or 8, or worst case scenario, it's worth $7,500. You got a little bit of a deal and you bought it for 7. You make more cash when you get a good deal on the front end also. So keep that into consideration. For me, I think this still works if you buy a car at market. Just don't buy a car for 7 that's worth 6. Then you're really screwing yourself. Okay. That being said, you're looking at a $1,170 conservative estimate, which is $17 on your money, 17% on your money. All worst case scenarios in the situation, which is still much better than the stock market. And it's a real tangible physical asset, which is a car. Now, here's the thing. cars aren't really considered assets because they depreciate, but in this case, since they generate income, I still consider it an asset. So it's up to you guys. My cash flow on all my vehicles is positive. So some people have to budget a certain amount for cars. I actually earn income on my cars. A great way for you guys to do it. I am looking to get 100 cars in the system because I know the Bay Area pretty well, and I think I know where I would put these 100 cars. I would hire one valet to take care of the vehicles for us. I would just handle the paperwork and all that stuff since I have experience with that. And that would produce income of, let's see, 5,000 plus depreciation. That would produce an income of $50,000 per month. And so we could split it. And I'll do all the work. You just send the car over here. We'll put it onto the system. I'll do all the stuff required, and we'll split it 50-50. I think that's fair. Then for you, it's relatively passive, except for checking in with me to see how your car is doing. And that would give us an annual income of 100K. This assuming that we set money aside for the depreciation. But really the cars aren't depreciating as much as I have in this example. It's much less. So just to give you guys another ridiculous thing to compare it to, the average home in the Bay Area is 900 grand, right? So in your home, and 900 grand is going to be a very, very expensive mortgage, versus if you just rented and you put that 900 grand in the Getaround, you would have an income of $50,000 a month before expenses. After including depreciation, you're still making a six-figure income instead of your insanely high mortgage. So it doesn't make sense in this market to buy anything really when there are other opportunities like this. Or if you put your 900,000 in stuff to resell on eBay, you could basically double your money conservatively. So it's a really weird market right now. I do not see a lot of wealthy people spending money on real estate in this market because of how expensive it is. And if the bubble will explode, which I am going to predict that there might be one of these big players that hires 30, 40,000 people that goes out of business, and there's a kind of a bubble. But there's so much new tech being developed right now, guys. There's so many cool companies that are starting to pop up. I think these people will be okay, at least in the short term, with jobs. So I don't see real estate becoming really cheap where I live in California, and I would like to stay here. So hopefully this is useful, guys. If you have any more questions, click on the affiliate link below to go to Getaround, throw your car up there. If you want to work with me on my goal of getting 100 cars set up here, then just email me and we'll work it out. Looking for people, hopefully they can buy more than one car so I can save time. But I know how to do this. I know how to buy the cars. I know where to put them. I already know how to do the system. All I'm looking for right now is the capital. I'd rather not pay interest. So if you could just buy the car, that would be great. Everyone have a great day. Hope this was useful. Have a great day.